On the second weekend of the ACC season, we have a key matchup. Teams tied for third in the Atlantic Division, the Boston College Eagles in to visit the Clemson Tigers. Good evening, everybody, and welcome aboard with Marty Clary, Pete Hannity with you. Well, who really would have thought that you'd have this matchup featuring a Clemson team that's in the top 25, a Boston College team off to the best start in program history at 12-3. They're on the verge of most top 25s, and here we are this weekend with a series that could say a lot as far as the ACC race is concerned.
Shouldn't have to matter this early, but when you got 8-9 teams in the baseball polls out of the ACC, you've got to play well early.
And if you look at these two ball clubs, they're close not only in the standings, but in most statistical categories. Now, in terms of the bats, well, let's talk about a senior for the Eagles and a freshman for the Tigers. First off, for Boston College, they're getting a great season out of Joe Cronin, their third baseman. He comes off an ACC Player of the Week honor for his work last weekend at NC State.
Yeah, and he doesn't have shoulder injuries this year, and he is proving to be a great player, batting about 389, on-base percentage over 480, so he presents a lot of problems. He's 4 for 4 in stolen bases as well.
And at this hour, the Tigers have the top newcomer in the ACC. What a start it's been to his collegiate career for Seth Beer, a 4-home-run weekend in Winston-Salem last week, and he's tied for the league lead in home runs with 7.
Boy, this doesn't seem right. He should be in high school, but no, he's here leading the Tigers in a very formidable team this year for Clemson.
Boston College is a team that's used to being on the road. They have yet to play their home opener. The Tigers try to continue what's been a good home run so far and build on their ACC momentum here early on in conference play. Our first pitch is coming up after this. 2-2 pitch again with the runner going. That one's hit high and deep to right. It's way back and out of here. Home run number 8. It puts Beer into the ACC lead. A 2-run blast, and the Tigers move back in front 4-2. 2-2 to Hernandez, and a swing and a miss. And that'll do it here in the fourth. Good piece of pitching by Clay Schmidt. Eagles had him bases loaded with just 1 out, but Schmidt recording his 5th strikeout of the game. It comes at an opportune time. And in the middle of the fourth, the Tigers remain on top, 4-2 over BC. Wilson with Beer at second. And a high drive to left. Hernandez back, looking up, and it's out of here. Weston Wilson rips it above the lower left field stands. And the Tigers add on. Second homer of the game for the Clemson team, each of the 2-run variety. And for Weston Wilson, home run number 2 in this 2016 season. Friday night here at Doug Kingsmore Stadium, the Tigers saw senior right-hander Clay Schmidt strike out a career-high 11 batters. He worked out of a jam in the fourth en route to his 4th victory without a loss. 2-run homers by freshman Seth Beer and junior Weston Wilson provided the difference in a 6-2 victory in Game 1 of an important early season ACC showdown against Boston College. Stay tuned. Game 2 is coming up. The wind is blowing in on an overcast Saturday at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. Game 2 of the series for Clemson and Boston College. Hi again, everybody, and good afternoon. With Marty Clary, Pete Hannity with you. Last night, we saw a ball game that included Clay Schmidt doing a pretty good Houdini act, getting out of a bases-loaded 1-out jam in the fourth for Clemson on his way to that win, and some power on both sides.
Yeah, if Clay Schmidt doesn't come through at that moment, I think Boston College may have turned that around and took momentum from the game, and Clemson came up big themselves with some power.
Yeah, those home runs by Beer and Wilson we just showed you were no doubters, and the 2 that Boston College hit from Hernandez and Sauter also pretty good shots. Well, let's take a look at a couple of the featured players going into the game, and we mentioned Steven Sauter, the backup catcher who's been their DH, and for the second time in as many years, he homered against Clemson last night.
Well, he's just a good, solid hitter. He got to pitch up a little bit, and he made no mistakes about it. He drove it over the wall.
Seth Beer continues to impress. He not only homered last night, but he extended his current hitting streak to 15 games. This freshman right fielder for Clemson is a guy who is as pure a hitter as we've seen in a while.
You got to call him a freak. You just don't expect that from a freshman, to be able to be that consistent and have those kind of power numbers.
It's a couple of lefties on the hill today for the Tigers and the Eagles. When we come back, we'll set the stage further as Clemson gets ready to go at it in another key game in the ACC Atlantic against Boston College after this. Pitch. And ball 4, a bases loaded 2-out walk. Jesse Adams has got to be kicking himself to the 9th place hitter. Pinder, little looper, Adams charging, gonna short hop it, can't handle it. 1 run scores, a second will be sent. Here's the throw to the plate, and it's not in time. They call that a duck snort off the bat of Chase Pinder, and it gives the Tigers a 3-1 lead.
To have to worry about as a team to prevent runs.
Drawn in infield, looper to left, that's a base hit, and Gibson will score easily. Let's see if Jolly tries for second. He will. Hernandez throw will not be in time, and a sliding RBI double for Robert Jolly. On Saturday, the Clemson Tigers again received a strong starting pitching performance. This one from Charlie Barnes. He won a career best 7 1/3 innings and earned his second win of the season. Today, the homestanding Tigers look to complete their first ACC sweep in 2016. Game 3 against Boston College is coming up next. It's the first day of spring, but here at Doug Kingsmore Stadium, there's a chill in the air and overcast skies as the Tigers have the brooms out, going for the sweep against BC. Hi again, everybody. Good afternoon. With Marty Clary, Pete Hannity with you. The Tigers today trying to not only get that sweep and continue to build on that ACC record, they're trying to get their longest winning streak of the year. They come in having won 6 in a row. And again, Alex Eubanks goes to the hill today trying to continue what has been a really good weekend on the mound for this Clemson team.
Coach Lee and the Tigers would love to see Eubanks return to the kind of form he had against South Carolina. That's what they would love to see as he takes the mound today.
Let's face it, starting pitching can set a tone in all kinds of ways, and it certainly has for the Tigers in this series. Friday night, Clay Schmidt. Saturday afternoon, Charlie Barnes.
Well, you see the numbers there. They have not relinquished many runs to this Boston College team. They have been in the strike zone. They have attacked the hitters, and so far have had good success.
Meanwhile, the Tigers today will face a freshman for Boston College named Jacob Stevens, and he has been one of the best pitchers not only in the ACC in the early stages of his career, but also in the nation.
And he will not look like a freshman. The number is going to prove that. One of about only 10 who have not given up a run so far this season. So you can expect good things. The weather's a lot cooler. Maybe that'll be a good thing for a Northeast pitcher.
Tigers certainly hope that even though it maybe feels a little bit more like Boston weather today, they can feel at home here at Doug Kingsmore Stadium, trying to get to 5-1 in the ACC. They start the day in second place in the Atlantic Division. Our first pitch is coming up after this. Other night at the Citadel, you should be fine to continue on. Right back up the middle into center field. Runner waved around third. Maselli coming to the plate, and he'll slide in safely. In fact, the ball was cut off by Williams at the mound, and it's a 2-0 Boston College lead. 3-2 pitch. Called. Strike.
With his control, it makes you wonder why he's ever going to throw percentages. If I throw a good pitch and it's in a strike zone, I'm going to win most of the time. Over the reach of Williams, Beer charging in short right field. They're going to send the runner. Here comes the throw, the tag, and he's out. As they treat the infield, we move to the 6th inning. Boston College, a 2-0 lead, out hitting the Tigers so far 7-4. We welcome you back to Doug Kingsmore Stadium with Marty Clary, Pete Hannity with you. Good old-fashioned pitchers duel so far. We saw some really fine starting pitching out of the Tigers, and not all that bad from BC the first 2 games, but Alex Eubanks and his mound opposite Jacob Stevens so far doing some good work. In the case of Eubanks, maybe particularly frustrating, he's allowed those 2 runs at the same time. He's had the BC hitters off balance for the most part.
Yeah, early on he did not take advantage of a strike zone that was getting expanded, and he was throwing on the plate like you're taught to do, and BC took advantage of that. As the game's gone on, he's gotten further and further on the corners, gotten a few strikeouts. Stevens has been in control from the beginning. I mean, he's not had a hiccup yet really of any significance.
Defense has been a big story in the ball game so far today, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But it's also interesting, Stevens, meanwhile, the freshman pitcher for BC, if you saw some of the fly balls he's allowed today, you'd think we would have the same conditions that we had yesterday when a very significant wind was blowing in from center field. But there's no wind out there today, and yet Tigers have just not been able to get a whole lot of authority behind the balls that they've put in play.
No, they really haven't. They've swung under the ball, and it makes me think that he's got great late movement, or his delivery, they don't pick it up real quick, and so they're a little tardy and trying to get contact with them. And surprisingly, the real key move, Hardaway so far.
That's right.
His defensive throw right there really has made the difference of stopping maybe a rally for the Tigers right there. So pretty good call by Gambino to give him his shot.
And interestingly, a 2-0 game in which each team has gunned down a runner at the plate.
Exactly.
You rarely see one guy get thrown out at home plate, but let alone two in a game and over the course of the first 5 innings.
That's right. And in a game that's 2-0, that's critical.
Absolutely.
So I'm interested to see if they can, maintain their poise and keep it close and see what kind of finish we have here.
I wonder if this is his final inning of work. Jolly first pitch swinging, and in no man's land, diving grab by the right fielder Donovan Casey. Initially it looked like Michael Strem, the center fielder, had a beat on it, but that was not to be the case. But Casey, who made an error in right yesterday on a windblown ball that time, reaching out and pulling it in.
Yeah, just a tremendous effort. He just took a step or two back initially, thinking more, and then had to really come hard and lays out completely flat to make that catch.
1 pitch, 1 away. Here in the Tigers' 7th, Eli White, the shortstop, who talk about great defense. He was robbed by the left fielder, Hardaway, and he swings and drives one to left. And Hardaway gonna look at that one, sail out of here. A home run for Eli White. Left no doubt about it that time, and White's first home run of the season gets the Tigers on the board and is the first earned run scored against Jacob Stevens, the BC righty, this season.
Wreak some havoc, maybe double steal, never know.
Eli White 6 out of 6 in stolen bases this year. To second, off the glove of Palomaki, the tying run will score and everybody's safe. Beer love to run into home run number 9 right here in this home run and this weekend with an exclamation point.
Well, it's going to be one of those times, open base, 1 run. You're not going to give something fat for him, I don't think. You're going to try and really pick the corners. You're not necessarily walk them, but uh-oh.
Almost on request. And what do you know? Seth Beer ends it with 1 swing into the Cajun Cafe. And the Clemson Tigers walk them off on a Sunday afternoon against the Boston College Eagles.
Well, total mistake. And Gambino immediately tapped him. That's got to be down on his back foot, not on his thigh. But we talked about that earlier. People are going to see that. They're going to say you can get him out on the back foot, hard slider. But if you miss, it's going to be on the Cajun Cafe. And we saw that come to play tonight, that he missed with that pitch. It was not supposed to be in that location.